Hi, my name is Adriana, and this is my Parenthood and Children presentation. So first off, there have been changing trends in parenthood, and that is due to just modern society, changing technologies, innovations, things like that. First off, total fertility rates have steadily declined since the early 1900s. Total fertility rates just mean the number of children per woman. So the average number of children per woman has decreased from 4 to 2. And 2 children is actually the typical number of children per family. It's considered the ideal number for an American family, and anything larger than 4 children is actually considered a minority in America. Another thing is that the average age for first having children has increased from 21 years old to 25 years old. And there has been an increase in having children outside of marriage, and that is due to this whole idea of deinstitutionalizing marriage and putting less emphasis on marriage so that parents feel that they don't have to be married first before they have children. Another changing trend is within marriage. No longer are parents having children right away after they get married. They are kind of waiting a bit longer to just, many report having made that decision because they just want their relationship to mature. They want to grow as non parents before they decide to have children. In a journal article which analyzed data from 1940 all the way to 2002, it was found that an estimated 89% of white women and 83% of black women between the years of 1955 and 1959 had reported that they had given birth to their first child within their first 5 years of marriage, whereas the data from the late 1990s to 2002, the figure had declined substantially, where 68% of white women and 59% of black women were having children within the first 5 years of marriage. Um, a lot of this postponement is due to women's educational and career opportunities, because they decide they want to pursue that individual purpose and passion for having a career. It has slowed down the rate of having children, and it also prevents large families from forming. Um, Another trend has found that families with higher education and income have fewer children, and vice versa. So families living in poverty have more children. Another trend is that the amount of teen pregnancies has been slightly declining. It was found that it had plateaued, and the declining trend is very slight. But the fact remains that there is not an increase in teen pregnancies, and that is due to just modern technologies, more availability of contraceptions, more open conversations between adolescents, and their decision to use birth control, things like that. So there are factors to consider when deciding to be a parent or not. In a recent survey, more than a third of women said that most recent births were unattended. And that just goes to show that a lot of people don't put a lot of thought in whether to have children or not, when there are a lot of factors to consider. First off are economic factors. So it used to be that when there was a more rural society where families lived on a farm and children were kind of employees and contributed to farm life, children were seen as an economic asset. It was good to have more children because then you would have more help in on the farm and their work. Now in modern society, it has actually changed, where children now cost families a lot of money. In the figure below, you can see that the average cost to raise a child is about $250,000, and so about 42% of household expenditures are attributed to children. So that is a big thought. You have to be financially stable in order to have a child. Another thing is time. Parents have to invest most of their time into their children, and that may take away from things they want to do. It can take away freedom from personal activities, which can, put some stress on parents that they're not having individual time without children. Another factor is relationship status, so just how strong a relationship is before they decide to have children. The textbooks stated that parents with lower marital happiness tend to have more children because they believe that it will stabilize their marriage, when in fact that has not proven to be accurate. And so it kind of becomes a cycle where the less happy a couple is, the more children they're going to have, which can hinder a child's development because if there's a lot of stress in the household. So, within the 21st century, there are, a lot of different factors to take into place, and there are also advantages and disadvantages. In general, parenthood provides people with a very important aspect of personal identity. A lot of people have reported that having children helped give them a sense of self because they have a purpose and a passion now. Having children also provides a sense of commitment and purpose, and parents just feel like, they always say, oh, there's nothing like having children. They give you such emotional fulfillment and, like I said, purpose. Another advantage within the 21st century specifically is that there is more knowledge and education regarding child development and raising techniques. There are hundreds of parenting books. The internet can answer almost any parenting question one might have. So there's a lot of knowledge being exchanged with parents on raising their children, which can be a benefit to parents. Another advantage is that fathers are more emotionally involved now. No longer are they a distant parent and a kind of uninvolved parent, and because of this, it helps stabilize the family unit and can also help mothers because now the weight of parenting a child can be evenly distributed among both the mother and the father. And then the last advantage is that social media allows children and parents to become more connected than ever. When children and parents, follow each other on social media platforms, it allows parents to see what their children are doing, and it allows children to communicate with their parents through a social media platform. Also, just aside from social media, just in general, modern technologies with smartphones and texting, tracking devices, things like that, it allows parents to really see what children are up to online, and it allows parents to know where their children are at and can allow for a more safe environment for their children. There are advantages, but there are also disadvantages to parenting in the 21st century. For women specifically, some may experience their career advancement being hindered. Many women reported that when they were pregnant, they hid their pregnancy at work because they wanted to prevent discrimination or being treated differently within the workplace just because they were pregnant. And so that may put a lot of stress on women because they are struggling to advance a career while also having children for that emotional fulfillment. There is also little flexibility within the workplace, and childcare may not be accessible or affordable. which may put more stress on parents. Another thing is that parents may find challenges unique to our modern society. One example would be technology. A lot more, the question arises, should I wait to allow my child to use technology? How long is long enough? A recent statistic showed that about 36% of parents report that their children have used a tablet before they have turned 1 year old. And 90% of all children are using tablets or phones before they turn 4 years old. Another example of a modern issue would be food nutrition. Like I said, knowledge is being passed around all the time. What should you feed your children? Things like that. So that may be putting stress on parents. Another disadvantage is that we live in a pluralistic society, which means that there are several influences on children. No longer are parents the sole influencer on children, but now there's school, social media, TV, and other kids who are raised in a different way, all influencing your child on their attitudes, morals, values, things like that. Another disadvantage is that child raising is not central to society anymore. So no longer are there communities of support, bringing parents and children together to raise children in one way and help parents out, because there are other priorities within our modern society. So that community support has decreased. And then the last disadvantage is that responsibility for good children falls solely on parents. For example, controversial parenting techniques may cause parents to lose their children, when in fact it is customary within their culture, so that may be putting more stress on parents as well. And then here are my references, and that's it.